Hello everyone, my name is Jamie and welcome to another one of my monthly TBR videos. I love creating TBRs. Whether or not I stick to them is a whole other conversation, but I just love creating TBRs and you guys seem to like these videos, so I'm just gonna be telling you all the books I plan on reading in June. I have 17 books I've selected for my TBR in June. I have a couple of Patreon reads and then I do have a whole bunch of video concepts that I have planned. So a lot of these books are for those reading vlogs. I also have some books on here as well that I'm just in the mood for at the moment. So we're just gonna go through them. And yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think I should prioritize. Without any further rambling, let's just get into my TBR. First of all, I'm gonna share with you my 2 Patreon reads and then I will just go down the pile, no particular order at all. But I always have 2 book club books for Patreon. So in June, our main pick is Cleopatra and Frankenstein by Coco Malors. So because this is for my Patreon, I will be doing a full spoiler reading vlog for this book for my patrons, and we will also be having a live show discussion. But I'm so excited to read this book. I have heard so many beautiful things about it from all of my friends, and I have one friend in my life who, whenever she holds a book up in high regard, I'm like, okay, like I trust you. I believe this book is a very intense love story set in New York between our 2 main characters, Cleo and Frank. I've just read on the back that there is a 20-year age gap between our 2 main characters, so that's gonna be very interesting. I believe it's gonna be really intense, a lot of potentially poor decisions from our main characters, but I'm so excited to read about this tumultuous relationship with the New York backdrop, and it's gonna be so fun to discuss with all of my friends. The other Patreon read I have is for our series read along. If you watch my TBR videos and you watch my content, you should know that me and my patrons are rereading or reading, some of us for the first time, the Off-Campus and Briar U series. So we are up to The Risk, which is book 2 in Briar U. This is the last book that I have already read, so this is the final reread for me, and then the next 2 books will be brand new to me, so that's really exciting. I remember really liking this one out of the 2 Briar U books that I have read, but Briar U and Off-Campus are essentially just like college hockey romances. I really like the female main character in this book. I think she's really great. It's like fake dating, forbidden love, enemies to lovers, so freaking good. Our female main character is the daughter of the Briar U hockey coach, and then the male love interest is like the team captain of a rival team. So the forbidden love aspect is so fun, and I really cannot wait to read this one, or reread it, I guess. It'll be really exciting to see what I think on a second go. So those are the 2 books that I'm buddy reading with my patrons. Now we're just gonna go through everything and I guess, yeah, share with you what I plan on reading. First of all, on the pile we have The Pledge by Cale Dietrich. This is a 2023 release. I put it in my most anticipated 2023 releases, and I believe it's like a new adult kind of slasher horror book, which is so fun. I believe it's all set at like a fraternity, and there's just kind of a serial killer going around killing everyone. Love those vibes, love a slasher. I've not really seen anyone talk about this, so I'm excited to be one of the people that gives it a go. And yeah, obviously I'll let you know if this horror book is any good. I love a horror, I love thrillers, I love books that remind me of like really bad horror movies, and I feel like this is going to be one of those books, and I'm really excited to give it a go. Next, I also have a book I'm actually really excited for, funnily enough, and it is Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey. I have read a little bit of Tessa Bailey's backlist, and I'm really excited to get to this one because I've heard it's one of her best, and this is a whole series, I think, about like people who are doing up houses. I could be way off, but I think this is actually like the first one that I heard of. This is the first book that Tessa Bailey released that kind of like was on my radar back like maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I know that it's brother's best friend romance, and I think maybe there's some fake dating. I'm not totally sure, but I'm really excited to give this series a go. It Happened One Summer is one of my favorite romance books of all time, so I'm really hoping that Tessa Bailey can win me over again. But yeah, we love an easy little rom-com, so I'm really excited to read this one. Another book I also want to read has been on my TBR for ages, and it's another book that I haven't really heard anyone talk about, and I bought it from my favorite indie bookstore because it just looked really good, and it is The The Schoolhouse by Sophie Ward. I believe it is dark academia. It's set in London, and our main character went to this kind of like experimental school, which she has like a lot of memories about, and some of those memories get uncovered when I think maybe a classmate goes missing. I'm not totally sure. Dark academia again is really hit or miss for me. I'm still waiting for like that book that just gives me the perfect vibes. I'm pretty sure the only two dark academia books that I love are The Secret History and In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, and I've read so many, you know, I have read so many. I'm waiting for the right ones to come along, and genuinely I feel like I've only found two that I like, but I still just love the idea of dark academia. I love college settings and I love a mystery, so I'm really hoping this can be one of the good ones. Again, I have not heard anyone talk about this one, so I feel like with those books they can be a risk, because either no one's talking about it so no one's telling me it's bad, but also no one's telling me it's good. I'm not sure, but I'm really excited to read this one nonetheless. It does look really fun. Next I have another book I want to read that I'm sure will be a hit, and that is Ghosts by Dolly Alderton. My beautiful friend Amelie actually got this for me for my birthday last year, and I think it's about time I read it now that my birthday, well, it's not coming up, but it's in August, and I really want to read it before August. This is Dolly Alderton's debut fiction novel, and I really love her non-fiction work, so I'm sure that this will be just as good, because I just think Dolly Alderton is a really great writer. She's really good at like telling anecdotes, and the way she words her stories about her real life are really interesting, so I'm sure that her fiction will be just as good. I believe this is a romantic comedy about our main character who has a pretty good life. Then she meets this guy on a dating app, he ends up ghosting her, and then her life also kind of falls apart. As someone who has been ghosted and like did not take it well at all, I feel like this is going to be like looking in a mirror a little bit, and I don't know if that's a good thing, but I'm really excited to give it a go. It looks really fun, really silly, and just really funny. Like, Dolly Alderton is a really funny writer, so I can't wait to have a few laughs. Maybe shed a few tears, maybe just have my heart warmed a little bit. I think I have seen people describe this as pretty feel good, so I'm excited for that. I need those vibes in wintertime. Next I have another book that I've owned for ages, and I don't know why I haven't read it, because it definitely seems like something really fun, really easy to read, and really up my alley. But it is These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. This is a YA novel about some witches, clearly. This is a fantasy novel about a coven of witches. I believe that there is a lesbian romance in here, which I'm honestly obsessed with. I cannot wait to read it. I love witchy fantasies so much, and I feel like I don't read enough of them. I need more witches in my life. I believe there is going to be some sort of fantasy storyline where the coven is kind of put at risk, and our main characters kind of have to save the day, but also with like a lesbian romance going along the side. I'm so here for it. I'm so excited, and I cannot wait to read this one. Another fantasy I'm really excited for is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I've heard so many good things about this one from my friend Heaven, and I'm really in a fantasy mood at the moment. I've been in a fantasy mood for the past couple of months, so therefore I want to try read as much fantasy as possible, and this is another one that looks really up my alley. I believe it's about a 19-year-old orphan who has been living with this really charismatic, really beautiful family her entire life, and then the family is put at risk, and there's kind of like a murder mystery element to the novel. I love fantasies, and I also love murder mysteries, so pairing the two together just sounds like something that I need to imprint on my brain immediately. Like, I need to read this book. It looks so good, and no offense, like this is so shallow but so great. Look how big the font is. Like, it's a kind of a bigger book, but the format, like, thank you to the publisher. I need this in my life. I cannot wait to read this one. It looks so fun, and the cover is just beautiful. I've seen a cover with like a girl's face on it. Don't like that. Love this one. Another romance I really want to read is Fair Catch by Candy Steiner. This is actually the first book in like a college sports romance series, and I read the second book in that series on Kindle Unlimited, and they are like, you know, they can be read as standalones, so that's not too bad. But once I like found that out, my brain kind of went haywire a little bit. I was like, okay, no, now I need to go back and read the first one and then reread the second one. Like, I need to read them in order. I cannot handle it. Like, if you tell me that there's a series of standalones and you don't need to read them in order, I do not care. I will still be reading them in the order of their publication date. My brain can't handle it. But this is the first book in that series. I believe our main characters are American footballers, and yeah, just a series of college romances. The second book, which was Blindside, was actually so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I think it's one of the best kind of college sports romances I've read since I first read the Off-Campus series. So I'm really excited to get into the series now and read the first one and read them all in order. What I love about this one is it's a romance between a girl and a guy, and the girl is also on the football team. Like, she's also a sports player, like roughhousing it with the boys, and honestly inspiring. Like, love that so much, and I'm really excited to see how the teammate dynamic translates into a romance. I also know that it's brother's best friend again, and it's also enemies to lovers, so I am obsessed with that. I have heard so many good things about other books in this series, so I'm really excited to keep reading more. Candy Steiner also has just such a readable writing style, so I'm just excited to read more of her as well. Like, once I read this series or finish this series, I'm also really keen on reading a lot of her backlist. I've already read a little bit of it, but there's more that I want to read. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this one. Oh my gosh, this next book, I bought it recently because I'm like, this book was made for me. Like, this book was made for me. It's fucking stupid how Jamie coded it is, but it is 1,000,000 to 1, and it is a heist, an all-female heist on the Titanic. I do not like historical fiction, but mention the Titanic, set your book on the Titanic, and I am there. I was a Titanic child. I was one of those children that had an unhealthy obsession with the story of the Titanic. The movie starring Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio, yes, but also just the history of the Titanic. All I needed to know was that this was an all-female heist on the Titanic, and I'm there. So I have been putting this off because I'm like, I don't want to get my hopes up, but now is the time. I think I hauled it a couple of months ago, and now's the time. I need to read this. Another book I'm really keen on is The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan. I believe one of my patrons actually recommended this book to me, and I was like, sounds great, I'm here for it. And so now is the month that I think I want to read this. It has been sitting on my bookshelf, and it's one of those books that's just been staring at me. Whenever I go in and I look at my TBR bookshelf, I'm like, my eyes always get drawn to this one, and I think, I don't know, I do believe that books have souls, and this soul of this book is calling to me, and it's like, we'd get along, we'd be soulmates. So now I just really want to read it because it keeps staring at me. I believe it's kind of dystopian, I'm not totally sure, but we follow our main character who is a new mother, and she's really struggling to keep up, as a lot of, new mothers do. But she's having a really hard time, life is kind of getting on top of her, and then the state takes her child away and sends her to a school where she gets taught to be a good mother again. It looks so interesting. I love stories about motherhood. It's not like I want heaps of stories about mothers from the daughter perspective. I need more stories about motherhood, about the struggles of motherhood. I love books about women who never wanted to be mothers and then all of a sudden they are. I don't really know. I just love lit fic about motherhood. So I'm really excited to read this one. It looks so good. And because it keeps calling my name, I feel like that just means it's going to be a 5-star read. I don't want to get my hopes up, but I genuinely feel that way. Another romance. I do have quite a few romances on here, which is kind of fun. I've been reading a lot of thrillers recently, and now I'm like, okay, I think it's time to go back to my other favorite genre. And I want to read With a Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon, another book I've had on my TBR for a little while. I read The X Talk last year and I thought it was really fun. Not my favorite romance I've ever read, but still a fun kind of rom-com time. And I feel like With a Girl, the plot of this one looks more like my thing than the plot of The X Talk. So I feel like this one will hit a bit better for me. The plot of this one also really reminds me of the rom-com Set It Up, and love that movie. So I'm really excited to read this one because it's about our two main characters who are trying to set up their bosses because they're getting a hard time at work, and then during the process they fall in love. It just looks so good. I also feel like the rainy setting is really appropriate for what New Zealand weather is doing right now. Like, it's literally raining every single day. It has been raining on and off this morning even. So I just need this in my life. I feel like it's the most appropriate time for me to read this. The next book I've selected for my June TBR is How We Fall Apart by Katie Zhao. And this was a gift from my friend Cam, so thank you so much, Cam. I am finally reading one of the books he gifted me, and this looks really good. I've been wanting to read this for ages. I think I literally put this on a most anticipated releases video, like the year that this one was coming out, and I still haven't read it, but now I have it in my hands, so I'm really excited to. It's a murder mystery novel set at this really prestigious kind of prep school, like kind of Gossip Girl vibes. And the girl who dies, and the murder mystery is all about, is named Jamie, and she's like a queen bee, so beautiful. And I'm like, oh my god, like, who's that? Like, is that me? Like, don't want to die though, but like, is that me? So I'm really excited to read this one. I love a murder mystery. I love a rich kind of college high school setting. I've also heard nothing but good things about it, so I can't wait to read this one. I feel like it will be just really fun. The next romance I have on my TBR is Along for the Ride by Mimi Grace. I think I tried to read this in a 24-hour readathon recently, and unfortunately I didn't get to it, but this is a road trip romance, and it has one of my favorite covers on my TBR shelf, and I'm like, okay, I finally need to read this. It's an enemies to lovers 16-hour road trip. I'm so excited for that. These characters look so cool, and I just can't wait to try out a new author. This is also indie published, and I often find that my favorite romances are the ones that are indie published, so I'm really keen to read this one and see what it's like, and hopefully I can have a new romance recommendation for you. The next book on my TBR is The Secret Service of Tea and Treason by India Holton. This one is the third book in the Dangerous Damsels series, which is a series of fantasy historical fiction romances, and I haven't actually read the second book yet, but I am reading it this week, so hopefully I love that one and then can move on to this one, because I read The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels, the first book, back in 2021. It has like been nearly 2 years, and I'm like, no, I need to catch up. I need to catch up. So I'm reading the second one this week and hopefully reading the third one next month. But this is about two rival spies in this fantasy Victorian London setting. It looks so good. It looks so up my alley, and I cannot wait to read this one. India Holton's writing is just so hilarious. The most hilarious characters and hilarious dialogue. Sorry for saying the word hilarious 3 times in one sentence. So I know that I will have like an absolute banger of a time. The next book on my TBR is another book that's been on my TBR for a while. I'm sure you've noticed we've got a lot of older physical TBR books in this particular video. I wonder if you can guess what sort of reading vlog I'm doing, but this is What We All Saw by Mike Lucas. This is a horror about 4 friends who all are kind of hiding secrets from each other. They go camping, I think, and I think it gets a bit scary, a bit frightening. I love a horror. I love a book about like a friend group who are all like hiding stuff from each other. I don't know, it just makes things really exciting. And this just looks like it'll be really fun. So I cannot wait to read this one as well. And finally, the last book on my TBR is To Hate Adam Connor by Ella Mays. This is another sequel in a series of interconnected standalones. I read the first book, To Love Jason Thorne, last year, and I really enjoyed it. So I really want to get to this one. The last book was like childhood friends to strangers to lovers, and this one is straight up enemies to lovers. And Ella Mays' writing style is just really fast paced, really fun, really good banter, just a really good romance. So I'm really excited to read this one too. It sounds absolutely ridiculous. Our main character is a famous movie actor. The girl main character is the best friend of the girl from the first book, and she like ends up stalking this guy in like a cutesy, not in a psycho way, in like a kind of cutesy way, I think. And then he has her arrested, and then they're just like full-on enemies, but they're both like the best friends of the other characters in the first book, so they have to see each other all the time. I love an enemies to lovers. I love stories about like famous people and non-famous people, and I don't know, it just sounds like all my favorite tropes. So I'm really excited to read this one. I feel like it will be such a good time, and yeah, this is high on the priority list. So those are the 17 books that I plan on reading in June. Let me know if you've spotted any favorites. Let me know if you think you can guess some of the reading vlogs I have planned for June. I always love seeing when people guess what might be coming, so please let me know. But yeah, guys, again, thank you so much for watching. A reminder that all my socials are linked down below, as well as my Patreon, so if you do want extra content from me, all the information is on the page. But yeah, I have some really exciting videos coming, so I hope to see you again soon. Please subscribe if you're not already. Ooh, I never asked people to subscribe, it feels so weird. Anyways, if you liked this video and you want to see more, you guys know what to do. Anyways, thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye!